We have breaking news. ABC News and George Stephanopoulos have reached a settlement with President-elect Trump in his defamation lawsuit. The network agrees to pay $15 million as a charitable contribution to Trump's presidential library. ABC and Stephanopoulos will also issue statements of regret as an editor's note to the March 2024 article and television segment that prompted Trump to file the lawsuit earlier this year.
I want to address some news you may have seen about me. Over the last several years, I've made substantial donations to dozens of charities, including the Clinton Global Foundation. Those donations were a matter of public record, but I should have made additional disclosures on air when we covered the foundation. And I now believe that directing personal donations to that foundation was a mistake. Even though I made them strictly to support work done to stop the spread of AIDS, help children, and protect the environment in poor countries, I should have gone the extra mile to avoid even the appearance of a conflict. I apologize to all of you.
Choices. I've endorsed the man that I believe is best for our country. It's not Joe Biden. And you looked at the dueling rallies yesterday in Georgia. Laken Riley's family was with Donald Trump. They weren't with Joe Biden. The same guy yesterday that apologized for calling her killer an illegal, who wasn't illegal. And here you are trying to shame a victim. I find it disgusting.
I mean, you keep saying
A few moments later.
George Stephanopoulos, pretty high and mighty there, doing all that mansplaining. Well, let's do a little explaining about who George is. He parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Yep. George Stephanopoulos showed up at his house. This has been reported. It's known. It was reported discreetly because they got to protect, Stephanopoulos. It was December of 2010, and Jeffrey Epstein was sitting down for dinner with some of his famous friends, personalities who span the TV dial from morning to late night. There was George Stephanopoulos. I knew about Jeffrey Epstein. George Stephanopoulos did not. One of the highest paid men in television. What did George say when he got busted? I should have done more due diligence. It was a mistake to go. How much is this guy paid to tell the truth? You don't get paid $15 million to tell the truth over there at ABC. Here's something else you may not know about George Stephanopoulos. He was one of Bill Clinton's henchmen.
Judge for it today.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape.
It was not a criminal court. This was a civil court. It was a civil court. And by the way, she joked about the judgment and what she was going to do with all that money. And I find that offensive.
I'm asking you
but
about
as a rape victim who's been shamed for years now because of her rape, you're trying to shame me again by asking me this political question.
You've repeated that again.
I think it's offensive. As a woman, I find it offensive. For my political choices, I've endorsed the man that I believe is best for our country. It's not Joe Biden. And you looked at the dueling rallies yesterday in Georgia. Laken Riley's family was with Donald Trump. They weren't with Joe Biden. The same guy yesterday that apologized for calling her killer an illegal, who wasn't illegal. And here you are trying to shame a rape victim. I find it disgusting.
I mean, you keep saying I'm shaming you.
You are. The question, it is.
How is the question asking you about a presidential candidate who's
You're asking a rape victim.
And there's no question about that. And you've courageously talked about
because I've been raped. I think that's disgusting.
No, I'm questioning your political choices because you're supporting
me. You're
someone who's been found liable for rape. Actually, I'm not trying to.
You are. That's exactly.
You're not
what
answering
you're
the question.
I think it's disgusting.
Well, you're welcome to say that, but you have to answer the question. Why are you supporting someone who's been found liable for rape?
I just answered your question.
What is the answer?
He was not found guilty in a criminal court of law. It was sexual abuse. It wasn't actually rape, by the way. And E. Jean Carroll joked about all the money she's going to get and made a mockery out of this case. And I think that's offensive. There's a reason why women don't come forward. And when you have someone who says that they're raped and they make a mockery out of this civil court judgment, it's offensive to other women. It makes it harder for other women to come forward when another woman has made a mockery of it.
You said women don't come forward because they are afraid. They are afraid because they're defamed
and shamed,
by those
you're trying to shame me this morning.
They are afraid to come forward, as you said, because they are defamed by those who commit the rape. That's what Donald Trump has been found guilty of doing.
He defended himself over that and denies that it ever happened, but he was not found guilty in a criminal court of law.
She knows. She is defending. She is endorsing. She is all behind a man who a judge said raped another woman and then defamed her. Talk about shaming a woman if she's so concerned about rape victims being shamed. What about what Donald Trump does to his rape victim? Judge said she was a rape victim. Day in and day out, constantly shaming E. Jean Carroll, so much so that the jury had to come back a second time and make the penalty so bad that maybe he would stop shaming a rape victim. But that's who Nancy Mace aggressively endorses.
Nancy Mace, who has openly spoken about a terrible experience weaponizing it against George Stephanopoulos, which is, it seems beyond twisted. But again, this is Trump world. And this is a man who has been accused of rape several times over and has other accusers that he's bought off.
I think anyone who knows George Stephanopoulos knows that he is one of the least likely people in the world to try and shame somebody who has suffered that kind of awful experience. I mean, that's just not the way George carries out his journalism. He's fair, he's honest, and it was a legitimate question.
Donald Trump is suing CBS News for $10 billion in damages over Kamala Harris's interview with 60 Minutes. The vice president appeared on the show earlier this month. Trump's attorney says the show selectively edited her answers in an effort to, quote, tip the scales in favor of the Democratic Party. He said that caused immense harm to him and his campaign.
They took it was a very long answer. You just went on and on, just words. Didn't mean anything. 60 Minutes and CBS cut it all out, and they took another answer for a meaningless question, and they put it up there. Do you know that, right? They put it up there. They took it and they put it up, and they replaced an answer that would show that she's not qualified.
Of course, Trump also decided not to sit down with them as well. CBS has rejected claims the interview was doctored. They call the former president's claims completely without merit and said the network intends to vigorously defend against the lawsuit.
A few moments later.
You know, authoritarian dictators throughout history have often come to power in democratic societies. You know how it happens? Look around. Look at what's going on in this country right now. This is how it happens. People give in. People obey in advance. That's what you saw yesterday with ABC News paying essentially extortion money to Donald Trump, protection money to a mob boss thug in that settlement of a defamation suit that Donald Trump had absolutely no chance whatsoever of winning. It's ABC giving in to a dictator in advance. And you've seen this on you've seen this with Morning Joe and Mika running down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss his butt. You've seen billionaires lining up to kiss his ass. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, on and on and on, obeying in advance, trying to get on the good side of the authoritarian so that maybe he won't come after them. You've seen it with the Republican Party. Time and again, they could have been rid of this guy, but out of cowardice, thinking, oh, he'll just go away. He's not going to win re-election. We don't have to convict him in the second impeachment trial. At every turn, the people in positions to be able to stop this man have refused to do so because they're cowards.
ABC News might have already lost the Democrats their next election. How? By agreeing to settle a lawsuit for $15 million without taking it to trial. They also have to issue a public apology. I hate to say it, but Trump keeps on winning. And liberal media keeps giving him these wins. ABC News, why are you not taking it to trial? We want to see discovery with Donald Trump. The content would be a goldmine. And the worst thing about all of this, the dumbest people on the internet think they are smart and that they are winning. Do you know how many times this $15 million lawsuit settlement will be referenced in the future for Republicans? Literally generations. To make it all worse, how did George Stephanopoulos respond? He deactivated his Twitter account.
This is what I mean by Democrat-funded or Democrat-leaning media is spineless. This is what I mean by this. Because ABC just agreed to bend the knee and pay this motherfucker $15 million to settle their defamation case against them because of what they said about Trump avoiding the 60 Minutes interview. But we all know why ABC is bending the knee. We all understand why they're bending the knee. And the reason for that is because Trump is a very petty and vicious person. And since he holds on to grudges, and he vowed to go after political opponents and is putting a lot of his sycophantic, weirdo-ass supporters in high positions of power in order to do so, who the fuck is to say that news and TV stations are off the table in this crusade? Democratically run media is so bad at just being able to stand on shit and staying 10 toes down. That's why they'll never be conservative media. That's why Democrats are going to end up becoming more conservative over these next, 4 to 10 years, with the Republicans and conservatives running, the House, the Senate, like pretty much everything. Like, this is going to happen more often because instead of Democrats trying to put funding into their pundits and building up a strong base of support for their constituents, they would much rather just turn over. And that's what we're going to see over these next 4 to 10 years. I guarantee you, Democrats are not going to fight back. They're just going to let it happen. So if you thought that there was going to be a strong Democratic presence during this administration, you were wrong.
And what else, Brian, does this tell us about the president-elect's possible strategy for dealing with the media going forward? We know he's very litigious.
One word comes to mind, the word emboldened. Trump and his team is going to be emboldened by this settlement by ABC, because rather than fight this out any further, rather than trying to go to trial, ABC is choosing to settle. What does that mean? Maybe that means ABC had embarrassing emails or text messages or other material that was going to make the network look bad. Remember, that's one of the reasons why Fox News settled against Dominion last year. Sometimes networks settle because they don't want to drag it out any further and get embarrassed in the court of public opinion. But regardless of ABC's rationale, and they won't say why exactly they decided to reach this settlement, it will embolden Trump and his allies who, as you've said, have shown they want to use the courts in order to achieve certain outcomes they want. In this case, they believe justice is being done by holding ABC accountable. Others would say this is a form of lawfare where you're using the courts to tie up news outlets and embarrass them and cost them, in this case, millions of dollars. I'm really struck, Jessica, by the dollar figure, by the way, $16 million. That's a lot of money for any news outlet to be paying out. And that's going to have, I think, far-reaching ramifications.
Not just from journalists or that media space. What do you think it's actually going to take before the public starts taking this as serious as it should be?
So I don't ever try to predict the future. I think we can't tell what voters in the public are going to do. But I think what's critical is that the public understands, why does the press exist? Why does the press exist in a free society? Why are we the only profession protected by the First Amendment? It's because the founders, for all their flaws, understood that you cannot have a democracy if you do not have an independent press that can hold power accountable. We exist to inform the public. We exist to serve as a check on power, to be a watchdog. And so when, in fact, an administration is attacking the press, they're attacking the public's right to know. They're attacking the public's right to actually understand the inner workings of government so we can choose, is this the government we want or not? So we have the ability to fight back against things that we don't agree with or that we think are anti-democratic. So I hope that the public will understand that there's a reason why authoritarians target the media, why they try to discredit the media, and why they threaten the media. They want to make us afraid to do our jobs. They want to make the public not believe what it is that we report when we expose the way that power is being used against us. And I think that we have to be really worried as a press that we are not doing, as Timothy Snyder said, obeying in advance, that we are not getting exhausted, that we are not simply saying, well, Trump lies all the time. So we start to be accepting of those lies as normal. I think that that's why I'm saying we are facing an epic battle, but the public has to be involved in that battle. The public, whether they don't like what we do all the time, whether they don't agree with what we do all the time, they have to understand that they must protect the press if they want to maintain a free society.